Welcome to Ballet Bites. Today we're diving into this electrifying debate about whether ballet should make its Olympic debut. It's like picturing a grand jeté next to a triple axel on prime time. Quite the spectacle,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It really is something. So, are we talking about pushing ballet into the Olympic arena because of its athletic demands, or is it all about the art? I mean, where's the line exactly?
Great question. On one hand, we've got the age-old debate. Is ballet a sport, an art, or both? I mean, ballet dancers can hit heart rates over 150 BPM, which is in the heavy exercise realm. And that, shows it's athletic, even if purists say its magic lies in storytelling and emotion.
True, but then audiences go, I want exquisite emotion and goosebumps instead of scoreboards. It's like expecting a masterpiece painting, but then getting a technical drawing, right?
Exactly. And that brings us to another point, scoring. How do you score something as fluid as a plie? Look at how the Youth America Grand Prix splits their judging between technical chops and emotional artistry on a 100-point scale. It's like they require both precision and passion.
Yeah, that system seems like, well, a good compromise. But then, if you crank up the technical expectations too much, don't you risk flattening the individuality? I mean, think about it. There's the fierce contrast between Nureyev's swagger and Baryshnikov's buoyancy.
Spot on. We could see those tiny differences, like slight missteps in a fouetté series, weigh in like a deciding factor for gold. It's a delicate balance. You want to capture both the athletic perfection and poetic nuance, but too much emphasis on one side might compromise what makes ballet.
Right. And speaking of balance, what about the culture shock that could come with an Olympic push? Money, national funding, even athlete villages. Suddenly, ballet might get the sports infrastructure treatment.
Yes, that's a huge roll of the dice. On the one hand, Olympic status could mean incredible boosts in funding and sports science support. Imagine dance academies in Lagos or Lima getting these new grants, upgrading stuff like injury prevention and even foam roller tech. It's like, leveling up the whole game.
Yeah. But on the flip side, when you have sponsors and strict regulations, don't you risk, trimming down the rich narratives we love? I worry that standardized routines might choke off the daring, full-length ballets that are so captivating.
I totally get that. The idea of choreography being trimmed down to a codified routine is a valid concern. Some educators fear that a trendy sprint toward complexity, like, say, packing in those quadruple pirouettes for points, might push aside the slow, soul-stirring adagios. Imagine Juliet's balcony scene reduced to a 5-minute routine.
Right, and that's a bit of a letdown for those who love ballet for its storytelling depth. It's kind of like turning a rich novel into a tweet, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. And then there's the bureaucratic puzzle. The IOC requires an established international federation to consider any sport. Ballet's got bodies like the CID UNESCO or the Royal Academy of Dance, but no single unified governing sports body. That means someone would need to build a global ballet sport federation from scratch, a mountain of paperwork before any nod from the Olympics.
Now that sounds like, well, a major hurdle that could take years to clear. And in the meantime, the debate keeps raging. But here's a thought. Wouldn't an Olympic ballet framework need airtight rules, especially on things like gender eligibility, costuming, inclusivity, and such? I remember skating having its fair share of controversies.
Absolutely. The new IOC president, Kirsty Coventry, has already kicked off a task force on gender eligibility standards. So, any ballet Olympic bid must come with rock-solid policies from day one. It needs guidelines that protect both fairness and artistic freedom.
So, on one hand, it seems like a pathway to democratize ballet, bringing in government funding and enrolling public academies, even driving global participation. But on the other, there's a risk of widening the wealth gap, because those point shoes aren't cheap. I mean, $100 a pair and multiple pairs a week? That's a tough barrier for many, right?
Exactly. And that cost factor might also mean regional styles get standardized. You know, the loose épaulement of Cuban training or the hyper-extended porte de bras from Russian schools, those unique flavors could get lost in a drive for score clarity.
Yeah, I see your point, and I'm a bit, skeptical here. While Olympic integration might bring technical efficiency, it might also dilute the very individuality that makes ballet so special. Isn't that a fair concern?
It is, and that's where the respectful challenge comes in. I think the sweet spot might lie in splitting the discipline. Perhaps ballet could have its own Olympic category, like classical dance, that separates the technical, codified variations from the full-length narrative masterpieces in theaters. That way, athletes get their medals while preserving the art's poetic soul.
Right. That's an intriguing idea. It's almost like having a sports event for the sprint and a separate artistic showcase. It reminds me of the dual models in rhythmic gymnastics where performance and technique get balanced out. But do you think that might fragment the art too much?
It's a valid critique, really. Splitting into two parallel fields could mean less unified recognition of ballet essence. Yet, it would also guard against the full-on convergence to gymnastics-like routines. It might, in fact, preserve both the competitive and the artistic
fair
realms.
point. And as much as I appreciate the idea of safeguarding the art, I must ask, would the commercial aspects and increased funding truly trickle down to the grassroots? Or would it just benefit elite dancers and rich academies?
That's the million-dollar question. Olympic exposure could theoretically democratize ballet by channeling funds into public academies worldwide, from Lagos to Lima. But without proper subsidies and equitable structures, the wealth gap might indeed widen, leaving talented but underfunded dancers behind.
Yeah, and then we get into the territory of regional styles being homogenized, which is quite ironic given ballet's diversity. The soul of ballet is in its varied interpretations. Do you think international federations could ever strike that balance?
It would be a tough negotiation, no doubt. The federation would have to enforce standardized competition rules while allowing enough leeway for regional innovation. It's like trying to maintain a secret recipe while scaling up production. It takes a lot of finesse and ongoing monitoring.
Exactly. So, in wrapping up, it sounds like, technically, ballet could march into the Olympic arena if it adopts a transparent scoring system, forms a unified international federation, and meets all the regulatory demands, including gender and inclusivity standards. But the artistic community's soul would be at risk if this transformation isn't managed carefully.
Yep, that's the crux of it. It's a balancing act between preserving emotional storytelling and harnessing athletic prowess. The debate is already reshaping how ballet is trained, funded, and perceived, whether in a sports hall or under a theater spotlight.
Yeah, really. And I think that evolution, however tumultuous, is a leap worth watching, even if it means rethinking age-old traditions. Will ballet become a medal-winning sport, or will it remain an art form that captivates through its grace and emotion?
That remains the big question. The Olympic dream for ballet is like a dazzling, intricate pirouette, graceful yet technically demanding. It could enrich the tradition or risk flattening its unique narratives if not handled right.
True that. It's fascinating to see how this debate is already influencing training methods and public perceptions. And you know, sometimes these conversations spark unforeseen innovations, maybe collaborative efforts between sports scientists and artistic choreographers. Imagine that synergy.
Oh, absolutely. It's like merging two different worlds. One where athletic rigor meets poetic expression, and who knows what exciting developments might emerge from that tension. There could be breakthroughs in injury prevention, performance analytics, even creative choreography technology.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how the stakeholders, from the IOC to dance federations, navigate these murky waters. With each rule and regulation, the dance might become ever more structured, and that could either refine or constrain the artistry.
Right. It's a delicate dance in itself, between regulation and creative freedom. And while the current discussion might not lead to immediate changes, it's already prompting deeper questions about identity, funding, and purpose in ballet. That, to me, is a beautiful sign of evolution, even if it stumbles a bit along the way.
I guess in the end, whether or not ballet lands inside the Olympic rings, the conversation is shaping up new standards in training and supporting dancers globally. And that's a win, right?
Definitely. It's a leap of faith, an audacious, breathtaking leap that, while full of challenges, fuels creativity and passion in a way that's, truly inspiring to watch.
Indeed. So here's to the future of ballet. Whether it's under the bright Olympic spotlight or on the traditional stage, may the spirit and soul of the art always prevail.
Absolutely. And thanks for joining this deep dive into fouettes, federations, and the ever-evolving ballet dream. Keep those comments coming, both the cheers and critiques, as every point helps the art refine its steps.
Yeah. Until next time, keep your feet pointed and your hearts open. This has been a real treat, blending athleticism with art.